No, before I go into this full video, I know you're pressed for time and you just want to know what this add-on actually does. So basically with Vertex King weights, you can very quickly with one click assign specific weights to specific bones, or even multiple bones at the same time, or multiple vertices at the same time with a couple of clicks. You can hammer or fix or smooth out stray vertices or whole areas. You can also nudge values from one bone to another very quickly and very easily while seeing it interactively in the final pose of your character. You can easily copy and paste values from vertex to other, from weights from one vertex to another. You can quickly filter out and see exactly what's going on in your skinning. You get exact measurements of what's going on, and you just have a much better idea exactly what's happening in your skinning. Some of these operations are far quicker than using weight painting, depending on the situation, but a lot of these are far, far quicker than painting the weights and far more accurate as well. Then you can also apply gradients between bones or to a bone with ease in, ease out values to get a very quick procedural skinning like that between specific things. You can very quickly mirror your skinning. You can copy your skin weights from one object to another, say from a face to the brow mesh and things like that, so they correlate very nicely. And then you can also transfer weights that's been accidentally assigned from one bone to another bone instead. You can also clean up skinning by removing small weights or limiting the amount of bones that's assigned to vertices for game skinning. Yeah, and the general workflow is just really nice and very quick. And if you watch the rest of the video, by the end of it, you'll know exactly how to use this tool and what the tool is all about. Okay, so it's time for a new release of Vertex Skin Weights. So we're now on release 6. I just wanted to quickly run through the tool in general, so you don't have to go through all the other updates to see what the tool actually does. So I know you guys are busy, there's a lot of add-ons out there, so you just have to watch this video and then you can see how to use the tool and if it might be useful for you. First of all, I made this tool for myself and I do actually use it a lot. Every time I do skinning, this is the main tool I use. And then also I had a lot of user feedback that made this tool better. So very thankful for my user base and people who got back to me and asked for features or pointed out bugs. It only made it better. So at this point, it's got a really nice workflow to it. Vertex Skinways is simply a tool that gives you per vertex control of your skinning process. So you can either select multiple vertices and see what bones are assigned to them, or even select multiple bones and then change the weight to those bones, while also seeing exactly what's going on in your weighting and your skinning. And it also gives you some extra tools to streamline this process and just makes life a little bit easier. This add-on installs in the standard way. One thing you should be aware of is it won't show up in the end panel unless you have a skin mesh selected. This is to save space on your end panel when you're not using the tool. The other thing is best to press the start tool here at the top. This will just make sure that the tool is working 100% the way it's intended to. Blender switching modes sometimes and get a little bit out of sync, but this will reset everything so the tool works the way it's intended to. For situations where you have more than one armature assigned to a mesh, like a face and a body that's separate armatures, over here you can pick what armature you want to be working with at that particular time. So Vertex Skin Weights does support using multiple armatures on the same mesh. You use the tool, basically you go into Vertex edit mode, and then when you select vertices, it will show you the list of bones, basically the vertex groups, but it's the bones that's then assigned to that particular vertex and their weights. You can also select multiple vertices and it will give you an average value in this bones list over here. So you can see exactly what's influencing them, or the average value of bones influencing that group of vertices. From there, we can then select the bones you want to assign more weight to, remove weight from, edit the values of, and then those values will be adjusted on your selected vertices. If your character is in a pose or animation, you'll see it in that pose, so you can basically optimize your skinning for particular poses as well. You'll see as you select bones that they will be highlighted in blue in your viewport as an overlay. So you can see exactly what bones you're working with instead of just relying on the names themselves. It's a bit of a visual guide and just helps the workflow a lot. Whenever you edit any weights, the remaining values are then normalized between the other weighted bones on that vertex. So your edits always make sense. It always normalizes to a value of 1 being 100%. So the total of all the bones will always be 1. In your bones list, you select the bones you want to edit, and it will only edit the bones that's ticked in the bones list. So once a bone is ticked for editing, then you can use a variety of tools. So the most commonly used tool is probably the set a quick value. So these buttons over here, you can set a very quick value within one click here, or you can specify a specific value you want to set it to and then apply it to those ticked bones. The nudge tool over here is for fine tweaking. So you can, for example, select a whole ring of verts and then nudge it to a bone or away from another bone using plus or minus, and you can set a small incremental value at the top here, but you can set that to any value, the increments you want to do it. It is also very quick to remove weights or remove bones from your skinning, unwanted bones. So say if you, for example, select this entire group of vertices here and you want to remove a specific set of bones that should not be part of it, you can very quickly select them and set them to 0, and they will be removed from the weight of that particular group of vertices. Inversely, you can also 100% skin stuff very quickly by selecting all the vertices you want to 100% skin to something and just press 1 on the bone you want to skin it to. Very, very quickly. Another thing that I do very often is if I want to assign weights equally between a number of bones. So in that case, you just select more than one bone and you set a value that's bigger than the average between all of them. So in this case, 1 always does the trick. So if you select 2 bones on a vertex and assign a value of 1, it will equally share it between the 2. If you select 3, it will equally share it between the 3 of them. This is a very handy little shortcut and I use it a lot. And now to probably one of the most popular tools in this whole tool set. Had a lot of really good feedback from users about this tool, and I use it all the time as well. The only thing is it relies on good skinning or better skinning being on either side of this, so I can do the interpolation, and it's called a hammer normalize tool. So this is very similar to the Maya hammer tool, but I worked out my own little algorithm for this to work. So basically, if you select a group of verts, it can be one, it can be many, and you press this hammer normalize, it will look at the skinning of the vert surrounding that vertex, and it will kind of like smooth and normalize it out. So you can get these really good transitions between two areas, and it just works really well. Sometimes it feels a bit like a magic fix, since you can remove certain bones and then just press that and it will fix a lot of the skinning for you. If you've got rogue verts, it will fix that. If you've got 2 areas you want to smoothly transition between, you can very quickly do this as well. So you can skin the 100% skin area of the finger on the one joint and then on the other joint, and then just select the vertices in between, and very quickly it will smooth the transition between those 2 with 1 click. So now new in version 6, I expanded on the hammer tool a bit, and it's got a new hammer function called hammer to ticked. So this will look at your selection, your bone selection over here, and it will basically hammer and smooth your verts and your weights just to the bones that you've selected. So I just wanted to show you guys, just to demonstrate it. So here I've got a little scene set up. I only applied automatic skinning to this, so nothing has been done to this yet. So you can see here both the bottom and the top bones here, the top bones over here and the bottom bones, they both influencing this top layer. So I've only applied automatic weights, and you'll see it's creating some problems. It's a little bit smooth, but it's a little bit raggedy. So this is kind of like a difficult situation. So imagine you've got a cape draping over something else and you want to isolate things. Basically, I'll just show you what the normal, so normally when you press then hammer, it will give you a smooth result, but these are still influenced by both because it's just taking all the bones in your armature in account. But let's undo that. But this one works a little bit differently. So here you can now go and say, let's select bone top. So I only want the top bones. I'm going to select all these. And now when I hammer to ticked, it will apply the weights only to the bones that I have selected and try and smooth the result. See over here. See, the bottom bones are not influencing that skin anymore. You still get the smooth result here, but now it's applied to only these bones. And if I put the filter off, you'll see there's no other bones but the bones that I selected, then smoothing this result over here. A word of caution with this though, let me just undo this. You still have to have good skinning over there and over there, for example, around your edges, or reasonable skinning around those areas. And then if you do just one, say, row at a time, if you do it with your normal hammer normalize, because it's taking all the existing weights into account, you get a different result from when you're doing only ticked. So even here, when I just select the top ones, and then I click that, you do get a different result, and the transitions might not be as smooth as using the normal one. So with this one, you just have to think about it a little bit more. But if you do it in the right way and over wider areas and have good skinning around it and sort of planned what your skinning is in the areas you've already done, then you can get really good results with this. You can also control the amount that it smooths it by the iterations here. So just set that to a lower number if you don't want it as smooth, or set it to a higher number if you want it perfectly smoothed between the surrounding vertices. You can use this trim value here if you don't want it to create lots of small little weights, and any number or any weight below this value will be trimmed and renormalized. So another little tool here as well is, say for example you got a stray vert over there, you can either hammer it or you can go here and you just copy the values of one and then you can paste it to individual vertex, or you can paste it to the whole ring as well. And that means the whole ring will then have the same values. Okay, so now for one of the new features of version 6, and it's these overlays. So there's two types of overlays here. There's the default weight paint overlay, and you can switch it on here. And this is what you would typically see if you do weight painting. So you can see in a live way the edits you're doing and see it on the heat map itself. The only downside of this display is it only displays the heat map of one bone at a time, and it will always be the last selected ticked bone in your list. This is just limitation from Blender itself. It can only show you the heat of one bone at a time. And because of this limitation, I made this cumulative overlay that will basically show you the heat map of your combined bones if you selected more than one bone at a time. So this will give you a very nice overview of what's happening in your skinning if you just want to visualize it. And this is a helper, and you can turn it on and off, and here you can change the look of it a little bit as well. So the next workflow improvement in version 6 follows a suggestion I had from one of the users, and they using Vertex skin weights and weight painting and switching between the two it was always a little bit of a mission to go through and then look for the vertex group to then go and paint it. Now, whenever you tick a bone, it will automatically select the vertex group that is corresponding to it. It'll always be the last one ticked. So now if you tick a bone, you can use vertex skin weights and then switch to weight painting back and forth without too much hassle. That just speeds up the workflow immensely. Now I just want to run you through the rest of the interface, in particular the filtering and pick tools. Select bone verts is handy if you want to see all the verts assigned or weighted to a particular bone or even multiple bones. You just select the bones and then you click this and it will show you all the vertices weighted to that bone or set of bones. Similarly, you can also select verts above or below a certain weighting value and you can set that value over here. So with this, you can very easily go and tell if you got some stray verts anywhere. You can isolate some verts that's got very low values or very high values, and you can filter them out this way. With Viewport Big Bone, you can actually just click this, it will switch it to bone select mode, and then in Viewport you can select a bone that you want to work with, and it will show up in the top of your bones list over here, and then you can work with that bone. That saves you digging through the bones list at the bottom with all the bones there. Here you can just visually pick them from the viewport and work with them. So the next section here is the lock bone selection. Personally, I use this a lot. The problem is each time you make a new vertex selection, your bones list and your tick bones are updated. This makes sense in a normal workflow. But sometimes you want to work on a particular set of bones or a particular bone. You want to keep it selected at all times while you're working on it. This way, if you click this, it will lock that bone selection. And regardless if you're weighted, non-weighted, if it's got weights or not weights, it will stay selected so you can work on it. You can unlock all the bones again if you want to unlock it. Just note that this doesn't lock editing the bones or the weights like you lock a vertex group. This just locks the selection and keeps it selected so you can work with it. Now for the two main filters. This is your weighted bones and your non-weighted bones, these two big buttons here. Basically, your default filter will always be, when you make a new selection of verts, it will be on weighted bones, so it only shows you the weighted bones. But what if a bone hasn't got any weight yet? How do you see it? That's when you press this all bones. This will show all the vertex groups or all the bones in your armature that's been assigned to that mesh. And then you can assign weights to them by putting the all weights filter on, so it will just show you everything. One thing to note here is the way the bones list is actually ordered. So there's two main ways the bones list is ordered, and that is basically first it will order the highest weights to the lowest weights, and then if you put it on all bones, you'll see all the other bones, and then the bones that has 0 weight, they will be ordered according to how far they are in distance from your selected vertices. So first your weighted bones from highest to lowest, and then it will show you the closest bones to your vertex or vertices that you got selected, because that's probably the most likely bone you would want to skin to or assign weight to. And this just makes it a lot easier to find the bones you probably want to be weighting to. You can also filter bones by name, and I use this a lot. Just a word of caution, sometimes forget I type something in there, my bones are not showing up, and then that's the reason, because I still have something filled into that filter. Below that is just standard selection tools like invert, select all, deselect all, just to make that a little bit easier too. Then also in the bones list itself, there's a pinning system. So the pinning system is different from the locking system because this doesn't lock your selection, it just pins them to the top of your list. So as you change selection, they will get unticked, but at least they will always stay at the top of your list. So say if you work in a particular finger or a toe, you can pin those bones to the top because you know for a while you're going to be working on those bones particularly and assigning weights to them, and this will just keep them at the top of your list. and you can just unpin them if you wanted to go back to the list again, but they got their own little section, so you can pin particular bones to the top so we can work with them. Bones can also be pinned and locked, either or, so you can have them just pinned or just locked, or pinned and locked. The highlight selected bone is basically just the overlay that you see each time you select a bone, and there you can switch it on and off. By default, I just always have it on, and you can also change the look of it by changing the width of it over there. The tool also has two little sections that has to do with performance. So the first is the max selected verts. This is just so if you have a very dense mesh, so you don't accidentally select millions of verts, and it tries to calculate the weighted bones for those millions of verts at the same time and slow down your machine. In normal meshes, this is not really a problem. It's got to be exceptionally dense for this to be a problem. So there's this little safeguard. It's set to 20,000, but you can set that to any number you want. And the other one to do with performance is the auto update at the top. So every time you select verts while the add-on is on, it's going to try and see what the weighted bones are to those verts for skinned meshes. Now, if you want to do some heavy editing and things like that, and you don't want this update to have it every time, you can put the auto update off, and then there should be absolutely no performance hit influencing edit tools, any other tools whatsoever. I don't really have issues with this. I have it on all the time. It's been optimized. But if you do want maximum performance and you want this tool basically turned off unless you manually update it, just put the auto update, tick that off. Then each time you make a vertex selection, you'll see that the tool will remind you in the bones list that you have to update either by starting the tool or by clicking on the weighted bones. So it's just a manual update. I tend to not have this ticked off. I have it on all the time, and I haven't noticed any performance issues, but if you want to be safe and you want maximum performance, you can switch the tool off in this way. The add-on also has a set of extra tools down here, and I'm just going to quickly run you through those as well. So the cleanup tools over here, basically so you can get rid of tiny little weights. So you can select weights below on select the vertices, and you can say less than 1% vert, select them, and then you can set those to 0. And then you can also just do it on the entire mesh by using cleanup below for mesh. So you can run through the entire mesh with one click and remove all the small weights below a certain value. It will automatically renormalize it to the other bones it's already weighted to. So this just basically gets rid of tiny weights. And also, if you're rigging for games, you might be concerned about the maximum number of bones that's assigned per vertex to optimize your performance. And here you can set the max per vertex. You can do this retroactively on just the selected verts, or you can also do it for the entire mesh. So it will run through the entire mesh and make sure that's the maximum number of bones assigned to a vertex, but it might influence your skinning a little bit. So you just need to go and double check that everything is still fine if you do run that. Then also when you use the hammer tool, if you click that apply max bones for hammer on, every time you use the hammer tool, it will make sure it only smooths it out to a maximum of 6 bones. So it also just uses 6 bones for any of the hammer operations. The mirror tool is my own little algorithm. It basically looks for verts within a certain tolerance on the opposite side, depending on the axis you defined. Most of the time it's pretty robust with normal scales, but if the scale is very large or very small of your object, you might have to play around with the tolerance, because that's the distance that will look for vertices on the other side. So in theory, you need to have a perfect mirror for your selected verts, but it will obviously have better results if the better or the more accurate your mirror is for your object. So this is just a quick mirror tool. It works on only the selected verts. So you first have to select verts on the one side, select your axis, and then mirror it to the other side. It will only do the selected verts. The next one is copy skin weights, and with this you can copy skin weights from your skinned mesh to a nearby mesh. The mesh can already be skinned to your armature or not even skinned at all. If it's not skinned at all, it will just add the skin modifier to that object and add it to your armature. It will also apply the transforms, so you don't need to worry about doing anything to your object if you want to add it to your skinning. And it tends to work very quickly and very easily. It uses some kind of projection, so basically the verts doesn't need to be exact. It will try and interpolate what the closest ones are and try to interpolate the skinning then to the object you're copying it to. So that's the copy skin weights from your skin object to another object, to have them both follow the same armature. The next one is transfer bone weights, and I actually developed this because I made this mistake myself. I thought it'd be quicker just to make a tool that will help me to fix the problem than to redo all the skinning. So have you ever been in a situation where you assigned weights to a mesh and there's a bone in there that's not supposed to have any weight, and you assigned a whole bunch of weight to it, and now your skinning is a mess? Well, with this tool, you can transfer the weights that's on one bone, the bone you didn't want to have weights on, and you can transfer it to the bone that was supposed to have the weights on. By just selecting the from bone and the to bone, it will then transfer those weights from the incorrect bone to the correct bone and normalize it intelligently, so the bone that should have had the weights would carry the correct weights. So this is a very quick fix instead of having to go and repaint all your weighting and remove those bones manually. So the next tool is, or additional tool, is this gradient between two bones. So this is very typically for doing stuff like, like a forearm twist, where you want a very gradual transition between two bones, typically in a cylinder. Because what this will do is will draw a line between the two bones, project outwards where it is on that bone, and then do a gradient skin depending on where it is along this bone. So we want a gradual transition between these two bones over here. At the moment it only has like a automatic skin weights applied. So this is typically what you would get in this scenario. Okay, so I've selected these verts in between. It will go according to your vertex selection. Go over here and open up gradient between two bones. Then you need to select two bones. So let's have a look here. That's the hand bone and that's that bone. Select the two bones you want to go in between. And here you just go and click on execute, and it will smooth that transition between those two. And now I can just go further, select the next section, select my two bones, in this case those two, execute it. Select the next section, select my two bones and execute it. You can see now it's done a very nice gradual transition between those two. If I want to smooth it out even further, I can do like a quick hammer on those areas there, just there, and then you get a very nice transition there very, very quickly. So to explain this a little bit further, so the previous one was a very real world scenario, but I just wanted to show you on this and what the different settings on it does. Let me just, okay, all on so you can see the update. So this also just has automatic skin weights applied. You can see this bone moving there, this one over here moving, and then that bone over here is rotating as well. So if I then go and select these, I go to gradient between two bones, I've got my two bones over there. It's doing a gradient in between. And at the moment it's on linear. So if I set this to execute, you'll see it does a linear transition between those two. Just going to lock these two down so they stay selected. Go and do the same transition, but as a ease in, ease out, ease in and out. So you'll see you'll get a different look depending if you ease in, ease out, or ease in and out, or just do a linear transition. So you can very easily get very quick effects like this. This normalizes it to the beginning and ending of your selected verts. You don't have to have that on. It works okay without it. It's just if you want more exact start points. So some of the other options here are use tails instead. So this is for this kind of scenario. Imagine you have these two pulling apart. At the moment, this has got the normal linear gradient execution. The reason why it's not stretching between these two is because the position of your two bases are staying the same, and it's calculating between the base of the joints by default. But you can set it to calculate by the tails instead. So if you click this on and you run this again, you'll see it now interpolates between the two tails instead of the base of the bone. The other thing you can do as well is you can add divisions. So in this case, I actually got 10 divisions in this. So if I do a linear interpolation with divisions on, it will just look exactly the same because it's the same number of divisions. And this is handy for if you got, say, exactly 4 divisions here and you want exact values. It will divide it up in 4 and assign these edges then to the one that's closest to it. And this way you can get like exact values here. But say you want to do some kind of stepped effect, you can actually exploit this a little bit. So if I make this into 5 divisions and then so you can actually create these kind of like stepped effects by playing around with the divisions. If you put divisions off, it will just do it as normal. Oh. So the other one to look at is gradient to selected bone. And I just wanted to show you the little setup here to see what is happening here. So basically I just have this grid and I skinned it to 5 bones. So the middle bone is there. It's just got automatic weights on at the moment. So they all skinned up. And then this one in the middle is skinned up as well. And then I got like a little animation, then pulling this up. So to show you how this works then, let me just go into this. So for this one, you need to select one bone and you've got to select your vertices. And it will look at which vertices are closest to your selected bone and which are further away. And then it will create a gradient from whatever other skinning is around it to this one selected bone. So to show this in action, if I execute this, you'll see there it will do like a linear transition to that bone. There, ease in, ease out, ease in and out. This is also then based on your skinning. This is also based on your selection. So let me just show you, if I do this and then execute this, say 8 in and out, it will only do it to those ones. See all this skinning still in place. It's just this one is now affecting all of them again, and execute this again, ease in and out. You can get really nice smooth transitions between things very quickly with this with these gradient tools. Thank you for taking the time listening to this whole video. Hopefully by the end of this you know exactly how to use this tool, what it's capable of, and I hope you find it useful. Thanks.